G'day guys, my name's Big Pop and today we'll be doing some battles in the Open Master League. We'll be utilising a SHUNDO Hydreigon, a shiny Lugia, and a SHUNDO Metagross to hopefully pull off some wins and do some nice plays. So without further ado, let's hop into these battles and have some fun. Hopping straight into the first battle, we have our beautiful SHUNDO Hydreigon into a Zacian. This is obviously quite a bad lead, them being a fairy type, also having access to close combat and play rough, which would be 4 times effective, so we make the quick switch into our SHUNDO Metagross. We're only anticipating the Wild Charge or the Close Combat. In comes Close Combat, does a nice chunk of damage and they retreat into Mewtwo. This isn't a bad matchup for Metagross. We hugely resist those Side Strikes, being a Psychic Steel type, but the Shadow Balls will do devastating damage. We grab one shield with our Meteor Mash, and what's going to come in? We're going to no shield, it's the Side Strike, we call the bait, and we're going to get to another Meteor Mash. Unfortunately, they beat us on CMP, so we're just going to take a Shadow Ball to the face, come back with the Hydreigon, and start farming up with our Dragon Breath. We're at about 2 brutal swings at the moment and 1 Flash Cannon. No matter what they throw, we know it's not going to do much damage now with our Dark typing. We're going to keep farm, and just going to farm all the way down. Down goes Mewtwo. What's going to come in next? It is going to be... It's the Zacian, so we're just going to full send it for the Flash Cannon. Let's see if this lands. It lands. Down goes Zacian. That's huge for us. In comes Dialga. We're going to throw the Brutal Swing. That should do a nice amount of damage. In comes the neutral Brutal Swing. Yeah, it does a nice, like, almost a quarter. We're just going to come with Lugia. We're at a 2-1 shield advantage, and they're back out. Good game. Hopping into the next one, we have SHUNDO Hydreigon again against a Mamoswine. So this matchup, although it looks really bad because they're an Ice type, actually isn't too bad. Our Dragon Breaths are doing huge neutral damage, and we're able to get to these Brutal Swings pretty quickly. Obviously, their Avalanche will devastate us, so we are going to have to use a shield to survive. We throw up the shield, go for the Avalanche, that would have knocked us out easily, and now they're in the yellow. Come on, Hydreigon. We farm up to almost a Brutal Swing and make the quick switch into Metagross, catching the Avalanche. That's huge. Hopefully it wasn't the high horsepower. In comes Giratina, and we're just going to start farming up with the Bullet Punch. We throw the Meteor Mash. This should be doing a nice amount of damage to that Giratina or getting a shield. Does a huge chunk of damage. Now we have a tough decision to make. Should we shield? Should we not? We no shield, hoping for the ominous wind bait, but it's not. We're going to save the shield for Hydreigon and just start farming all the way down. Although we do resist the Shadow Ball, we do have to shield here, but it's the ominous wind, we get baited, what a shame. But there is a silver lining, we're at 2 Brutal Swings and we can throw them straight into Dialga's face. In comes one, we make the quick switch into Lugia. Now we're Dragon Tailing away, doing some nice neutral damage. We're just going to go straight for this Sky Attack. In comes Sky Attack, gets a shield surprisingly, and now we're in a great position to just farm down. Even though this will be the Draco Meteor, we still hang on, Lugia's just too tanky. In comes Mamoswine, we beat them to the move. In comes Sky Attack, this will be taking out the Mamoswine. Down goes the Swine, and now we're just going to Dragon Tail away. Hopefully we can get to another Brutal Swing. We have one loaded. In comes Brutal Swing, this should be securing the win. And down goes Dialga, good game. Skipping to the next one, we have Hydreigon again into another Zacian. So this obviously is a terrible lead, as I said before. Close Combat or Play Rough will both devastate our Hydreigon, so we're just going to farm up and make a quick switch. Unfortunately, we're not able to switch, so we are going to have to expend a shield. In comes the Play Roof. That would have probably knocked out about 100 Hydreigons, so we're just going to full send the Flash Cannon. Can we land another one? We land another one in the same video! Let's go, Hydreigon. Such a beast. In comes Dialga. Now we're in a good position to just go for another Brutal Swing. Just get off some chip damage before we go down to those oppressive Dragon Breaths. In comes Brutal Swing. Gets them into the yellow. We actually are able to get them into the deep red, but they're loaded with energy. So we just come with Metagross, absorb whatever they have, quick switch into Garchomp, so we retaliate with our Lugia. This is a great counter for the Garchomp, obviously. Even though they throw Outrage, yeah, we just tank it. It would take like 3 Outrages, and by the time they get to all that energy and throw all those moves, our Dragon Tails have already pretty much put it 6 feet deep. So our Dragon Tails are doing a nice amount of damage, slowly sending Garchomp to the Shadow Realm. We are going to shield up this time just to preserve the Lugia. We get to a Sky Attack. Should be doing a nice amount of damage to that Garchomp. Yep, knocks them out. So now it's Dialga with a very small sliver of health. It's just the Iron Head. We hang on and we just Dragon Tail down. Good game to that opponent. Moving along, we have Hydreigon into a Ho-Oh, a Shadow Apex Ho-Oh at that. So this is a pretty good matchup for Hydreigon. Obviously our Dragon Breaths are doing neutral. I believe they're doing resisted Incinerates because of our Dragon typing, and we're able to get to these Brutal Swings. Unfortunately for Ho-Oh, if it throws the Sacred Fire, it is resisted, but it will still do huge amounts of damage, and then the Brave Bird will debuff them. So we're going to shield up the Sacred Fire, just being afraid of that brutal damage from the Shadow Ho-Oh. Honestly, one of the best Pokemon in the game. We are going to double shield our Hydreigon in this game. In comes Kyogre. I'm glad we did double shield, because Hydreigon has a great matchup versus Kyogre. We're able to survive a few surfs, and these Brutal Swings are doing a nice amount of damage to that big blue whale. In comes the second Brutal Swing, does a nice amount of damage. Now they're in the low red. Hydreigon's really put in the work this game. I definitely recommend investing in a Hydreigon. It's a bit of a niche pick considering it's like weak to Dialga, Zacian, it has a lot of weaknesses, but if you use it correctly, it can counter Mewtwo or Giratina, which are two of the most prominent Pokemon in the whole Master League. So very good pick. Anyway, we come in with Lugia. We're going to throw the Sky Attack, gets a shield from Mewtwo. We're still at a 0 to 1 shield disadvantage. We're hoping for a Side Strike. It's a Side Strike, that's brilliant. We should get to another Sky Attack. In comes the Sky Attack. Lugia, just going for it. Yep, gets another shield. Now we're in an even shield scenario. What are they going to come with? We just take it out in one Dragon Tail. Now Mewtwo has a tall task to go. He needs to take... Oh, it's a Focus Blast. Okay. Yeah, this game's in the bag. And good game. Moseying on into the next one. We have Hydreigon leading the whole game against another Ho-Oh. But fortunately for us, this one isn't the Shadow. So we're just going to start farming up with the Dragon Breaths, doing some nice damage. I do quite like this matchup. Last game we kind of misplayed it though. We shouldn't have shielded the Sacred Fire. In retrospect, we shield this time and it's the Brave Bird, so actually it works out this time. They're going to counter into their Dialga, which is a great Hydreigon counter, and we're going to send in our Shundo Metagross, the tank. So Metagross is our Dialga counter. It can take the Draco Meteors quite well, and we're able to get to these Earthquakes and do some serious damage if they no shield. Please don't shield the Earthquake. They don't shield. Sneaks past the shield. Now they come with Ho-Oh to start farming up, but we're in a pretty good position here. Hydreigon's able to take these Incinerates quite easily and spam out these Brutal Swings before they're able to throw too much energy. In comes Brutal Swing number 1. Should we shield here? I think we should, but no, we don't. So in comes the Brave Bird. They're twice debuffed now, and they have a Zacian in the back. So they're firing up with Snarl. There should be... Hopefully they don't have Wild Charge. That would be unfortunate for us. We farm all the way up. We have a good amount of energy. We throw the Sky Attack. We luckily get the shield. Another Dragon Tail sneaks through. We're going to shield up, fearing the Wild Charge. In comes Wild Charge. That would have done a nice amount of damage. And hopefully we're able to hang on and get to the Aeroblast in time. In comes the second Wild Charge. Puts us into the yellow. They're twice debuffed now. This Aeroblast will definitely be knocking them out. In comes the Aeroblast. Takes out Zacian. In comes Ho-Oh. Can we get to the Sky Attack? Come on. Come on, Lugia. We don't quite get there. Ho-Oh best Lugia this time, unfortunately. Heart Gold beating Soul Silver. We go down. Good game. Moving along here, keeping things moving, we have Hydreigon into a Mewtwo. So this is probably one of the best matchups you can get for Hydreigon, assuming they're running the usual moveset of Psy Strike and Shadow Ball. It really can't touch you. So they make a quick switch into Dialga, which is telling that they have Psy Strike and Shadow Ball. If they were running a more niche moveset, such as Ice Beam or Focus Blast, I think they would have stayed in there maybe. Anyway, we're going to throw the Meteor Mash after shielding the Draco Meteor. We're going to farm... We're actually doing a nice amount of damage with the Bullet Punch because Metagross has a pretty decent attack stat. It's still resisted though. We throw the Meteor Mash. Down goes Dialga. They do have shield advantage unfortunately, but that's okay. Back comes in Mewtwo and we should be able to get to a Meteor Mash. Not quite. I think we no shield here and just leave it to Hydreigon. It's a Psy Strike anyway. We're able to easily tank that. Metagross is just such a good typing with the Steel Psychic. In comes the Meteor Mash. Now we're in an even shield scenario. Come on Metagross. We don't quite get there unfortunately. We're not going to shield this. It's a Psy Strike again. In comes Hydreigon. Now we're going to start farming up. So we've made the prediction that it's Shadow Ball Psy Strike. Yep, it's Shadow Ball Psy Strike, I'm assuming. In comes Groudon, so we're in a great position here. All we need to do is make the quick switch into Lugia, and Groudon can't really touch Lugia. The Precipice Blades, the Fire Punches, they're not really doing that much damage, and by the time they eventually chip damage us down, we're at like 4 or 5 Sky Attacks, and they're gone. So we're at about 2 Sky Attacks. I think we're going to throw the Aeroblast. I think I was tapping on the Aeroblast there. In comes another Fire Punch. I didn't quite see what I tapped on, unfortunately, but what did we send? Yeah, it's the Aeroblast. Does devastating damage, and now we just have Mewtwo to worry about. They back out, good game. Hopping into the next one, we have Hydreigon against a Mewtwo. So again, as I said, a Purified Mewtwo at that. It's one of the best matchups you can for Hydreigon. That or Giratina, because we resist most of the charge moves. Unless they're running Ice Beam. In comes Shadow Ball, still does a nice chunk of resisted damage because Mewtwo is such an animal, and they're going to make a quick switch into Dialga, so we retaliate with our Metagross, showing off that Shundo power. In comes the Iron Head, that's resisted. Still does a nice little chunk of damage because Dialga is just such a beast, but we're going to throw the Earthquake and hopefully knock it out. Dialga unfortunately shields that time, so that is unfortunate for us. I would have liked to get rid of it. So at this point, we could shield and get to another Meteor Mash, and that's exactly what we're going to do. Come on, Metagross. Oh, we're going to go... We actually get to an Earthquake. That's huge. Come on, Metagross. Make this land. The Dialga throws up a shield, unfortunately, but that's still good for us. We're still at a 1-0 shield advantage. In comes Lugia. We're in a great position to just farm down now. We'll get to a Sky Attack and then farm down. It's the Draco Meteor, but that still does... You know, Lugia is just... I hope you invested in one, let me just say that, because it's definitely worthwhile for the Master League. In comes the Sky Attack, takes down Dialga. We're able to get to the Brutal Swing before the Mewtwo is able to throw a charge move. In comes the Brutal Swing, devastates the Mewtwo, and in comes a Kyogre. So this is a pretty good position for us, seeing as we have a shield. The Waterfalls really aren't doing that much damage, and by the time we've Dragon Breathed and they've got to the Surfs, we should be able to take this win. We're going to shield up the Surf just to preserve the health. In comes Surf, we shield it up. Now we're going for another Brutal Swing. I didn't quite see if they have shields or not, but I don't think they have shields. In comes the Brutal Swing. Yep, takes out Kyogre. Good game. Alright, hopping into the last couple of these battles, we have a Mamoswine against our Hydreigon and a quick low battery alert. Anyway, so they're at the Avalanche. We're going to shield up. It would obviously devastate us. In comes the Avalanche. We shield up, and now we're going to go farm up to a Flash Cannon and quickly switch into Metagross, hoping to catch an Avalanche. In comes it's the Avalanche. That does a tiny little bit of damage against our Steel typing, and they retaliate with the Giratina. Now this matchup still isn't that bad, because that form of Giratina can't really dish out that much damage unless it's running its signature move, Shadow something. I can't remember quite just now. Anyway, we're throwing a Meteor Mash. In comes the Meteor Mash, Shadow Force, I think. Anyway, we throw the Meteor Mash. Does a nice amount of damage. They farm down with the Shadow Claw, so we're just going to come with Lugia and start Dragon Tailing them all the way down. In comes a Dragon Claw. Does a nice amount of neutral damage. Down goes Giratina, and what's going to come in next? Back in comes Mamo. So we're just going to try and get them all the way down with the Dragon Tail. We could shield there, but I believe we survived the Avalanche. Yeah, we easily survived the Avalanche. One more Dragon Tail, down goes Mamo, and they have a Metagross in the back. So we're just going to full send the Aeroblast. This should do a nice amount of damage to that Steel type, even though it's resisted. Steel does half damage, which is absolutely ridiculous. Lugia does bombastic damage. Anyway, we're going to throw the first Brutal Swing at that last shield. One more Brutal Swing, and the Metagross should be gone. In comes Brutal Swing. Down goes Metagross. Good game to that trainer. Skipping to the next one, we have Hydreigon into a Yveltal. So this is a pretty good matchup as well. Obviously, they land the Focus Blast that will devastate us, but they make a quick switch into Zacian, which allows us the perfect counter switch into our Shundo Metagross. Now, we are expecting the Wild Charge or the Close Combat, which actually does huge damage, but both debuff, and that just makes our Bullet Punch even deadlier. In comes the second Wild Charge, and unfortunately for them, they can't do the old 2 Wild Charge and switch. They switch in, they're locked, and down they go. Back comes in Yveltal, and Metagross actually is quite dangerous in this matchup if it has an energy lead. In comes the Meteor Mash, does a huge chunk to that glassy Yveltal. They're really farming up, but they get a bit greedy, and we get to the second Meteor Mash. This should be doing a nice amount of damage to Yveltal, gets a shield, they're hanging on with 1 HP, and yeah, we're going to shield up the Focus Blast, assuming it's a Focus Blast. It's only a Dark Pulse, so unfortunately we could have no shielded that, and it's a Sylveon in the back. So our only play is to go for the Flash Cannon and hope for the best. Come on, Hydreigon, can you land a third Flash Cannon against the Fairy? We can! That lands on the Sylveon. Now we just come in with Lugia and start farming down with the resisted Dragon Tails. Should only be a Moonblast. Yeah, Moonblast does a nice little chunk of damage. Down goes Sylveon. What's going to come in next? It's the Yveltal with a sliver of HP. In comes a Dark Pulse. We should hang on. Yeah, we hang on. Down goes Yveltal. Good game. Hopping into the last match, we have Hydreigon against the Mewtwo. So as I said earlier, great matchup. If you're in this matchup, stay in it. They make a quick switch into Excadrill, and we're just going to start farming up with the Dragon Breath to get to the Brutal Swings. Obviously, Excadrill has a great matchup against Metagross and Lugia with this great moveset of Drill Run and Rock Slide. So we're going to stay in with Hydreigon and do as much damage as possible. Down goes the Excadrill. They come in with Dragonite. We're farming away. They back out. Good game. Thank you all so much for watching. Please like and subscribe. It helps me out a ton. I definitely recommend running Hydreigon. Although it has its weaknesses, it does have niche play against Giratina and Mewtwo, 2 of the biggest menaces in the Open Master League. Until next time, it's been Big Pup.